Hey, good people. This is Louis Enoa. For those folks that know me, hello, and for those folks that don't, yes, I am that Louis Enoa, the one that sends all the emails out that you have the great privilege of receiving and taking a look. So I thought before I get started with some of my opening remarks would be to start out with an age-old competition to figure out who exactly will be our student fellows for next year. So if you can beat me at a staring competition, you're this just one step closer to getting the position. So are y'all ready? Are y'all really ready for ready to battle me? We'll see. All right, here we go. Staring competition starts now. Oh man. Hey, good people. All right, so that competition didn't quite work out well for me, and I'm not quite sure how many people it might have weeded out by this point, but nonetheless, yeah, my time here with y'all, I don't, unfortunately, I can't be there today. I'm up at Albany, um, taking a class there for a doc program. But I wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to share a few words with y'all in terms of being, start to have y'all think about a the application, and then b your eventual interviews, things to be thinking about as you're putting those your thoughts together about why you're applying and why this is important and the kinds of things you like to do. To provide some context for y'all, especially since we're celebrating our 150th, is that very early in Vassar's history, particularly as it started to grow, the faculty, and to a lesser extent because there weren't just as many administrators, but really the faculty empowered students to kind of govern themselves. It's this idea of student governance, the idea of shared governance within the houses was born really early in the institution's history. And conceptually what that means, right, is that in terms of really defining why, hey, why don't we have RAs as opposed to the student fellow program that we have, or this kind of house team system that we have. The reason why we don't have RAs, and I say this often, I say this a lot, particularly during training, it is not because we we don't want to have one person responsible for the things that happen on our floor in the houses, right? It's the principle, it's the idea that everyone is responsible for the things that go on in the houses. And so I put that out there to folks to be thinking about, to be thinking about your application, to be thinking about the ways that you envision engaging with this idea of shared governance, and that to a certain extent, right? I use the terminology of it's not big A authority, but there is a level of authority there that as a house team member, as a student fellow, as a role model, as someone who's present on the floor, present in the house, of again participating in the shared governance, participating in the ways to kind of help with checking inappropriate behavior, checking appropriate behavior, and saying, hey, again, supporting the things that are conducive to the academic and social and emotional well-being of all of our students. So again, this is something that's really kind of embedded in Vassar's early history, and something that continues to manifest itself to today. Another element of the house team system, specifically the student fellow system, is that for the longest time, the position was really was the student fellows were selected by the dean of freshmen and by house fellows that lived in. And the reason why that's important is because, again, I mean, here is this specific link to the academic life of our students, that the student fellows served as this kind of mentor, served as a guide for the academic life. Another area for the longest time that student fellows would receive training in would be through counseling. And so here you have these two places, right, both in the academic life and in the social life, where the student fellow is seen as a particular kind of resource for our first year students. So I provide you with that context for you to be able to think about, again, the role that the student fellow plays within the house team and that the house team plays within a house system, and then B, the role specifically that a student fellow plays to their first year students. And I want to, take the time to thank y'all. Obviously, the first year has had an impact on you. and that you want to participate. You know, I want to thank you for wanting to participate in some way, shape, or form in this magnificent enterprise that we call, you know, Vassar, that we call our house system. And you know, it's again a tribute to you for being here, for being interested, for wanting to participate. Along the same lines, I imagine typically we get a little bit more than double the amount of student fellow applications than we can select. So I will say that not everyone, you know, that's here today is going to get a position, and that's okay. But I want to remind folks that there are several different ways for people to get involved. I believe one of the student advisors later on will make some comments about that. You know, the different ways that you can get involved. So I won't steal their thunder and allow them to talk a little bit more about that. But remain open to the very different ways in which you could get involved here at Vassar, and specifically in the very different ways that you could get involved on house team. I really do think it's one of the more vital areas of leadership that a student can provide here at Vassar. Last but not least, I'd like to share with y'all is, you know, from this day forward is to think of yourself as a house team member, to think of yourself as a student fellow already. And what I mean by that is to ensure that that you're behaving, and to ensure that you are thinking about yourself as a role model. Be thinking about your behavior on Thursday, on Friday, and on Saturday, right? It is one of the more awkward experiences to have, is to be filling out an application, be waiting for an interview, and in the middle of that waiting process, be documented by security for something that happened in your room or something that happened somewhere around campus, and to have to sit down with your house advisor to discuss this incident and how this reflects or does not reflect on you as an individual that's applying for this position. Again, that is so where role modeling is such a significant part of that, right? We need to be able to make sure that this is not going to be, you know, you know, you don't want it to impact your application. So I put that out there, is to think about yourself as a role model. Now, all right, so these are the last few points here. So again, I just wanted to try to provide you with some context for the position in terms of thinking about kind of the student fellow position from a historical perspective. I want to give you some food for thought for staying involved. I want to give you some food for thought for how to conduct yourself, both as an applicant and for the way that we expect you to conduct yourself if and when you get the student fellow position. And I wanted to thank you again for taking this opportunity, taking this time to be with us today, for taking us up on the opportunity to lead, to build, to mentor, and most importantly, to build the kind of community that our founder would be proud of. Take care, good people, and I'll definitely see y'all around. Peace.